Good morning and welcome to the Franchise Minute. I am Anna Wiles, the franchise economist, and joining us today is special guest Rob Flanagan with Houndstown. Rob, welcome to the show.
It is an absolute pleasure to be here. This has been on our calendar, I think, for months. And I
Yes.
gotta tell you, it's maybe a testament to my life, but I've been really looking forward to this call. I'm very excited.
Well, and we are really delighted to have you here because Houndstown is in the booming pet service industry. And so I can't wait for you to share about Houndstown. But start us off and share with the audience, Rob, a little bit about you and how you came to work with Houndstown.
So I came to Houndstown, and this is a similar story throughout franchising, but been in franchising for 20 years. And 20 years ago, when I was in grad school, I got connected with a founder, and I was his first hire, minimum wage. And him and his wife, the concept was called Doc Popcorn. It was Rob and Renee Israel. They were the two founders.
That's where you and I first met because I've been.
Oh, is that where it is? Okay, that makes sense. I knew it was somewhere.
Yes.
And yeah, I started out as just a clerk, a popcorn clerk. And we grew the brand in Colorado, then decided to franchise. And I learned franchising from the ground up. We sold the brand to Dippin' Dots, and I ran Dot Popcorn underneath the Dippin' Dots umbrella. Got a great experience with a larger, more established brand. But really, in my heart, I love working with founders. That was just that magic I had with Rob and Renee, and I really missed that. And so what I've really done over the past 10 years in that 20-year span is I partner with founders. They're usually around 10 to 15 locations. And I first and foremost work to understand their vision, the heart of what they want for their brand. What is their baby? How do they want it to grow? And then I bring in the franchise systems from sales, marketing, operations, finance, franchise support, real estate and construction, kind of build the team so that we can support our franchisees and then honor that founder vision. And it all came back.
Sounds fascinating. I mean, that must be really fascinating. And so tell the audience, Rob, about Houndstown. What does it do and what makes it so unique and special?
What makes Houndstown different? So what is our difference in the marketplace?
Well, first say what you do so the audience knows.
So for me, I am the CEO of Houndstown. And really what I focus on for the brand is how are we set up today in the marketplace? But I'm also looking 5-10 years down the line and to make sure that the brand is always oriented towards what is our 10-year target, which is that every dog in America has access to Houndstown. That's my overall responsibility.
And so what specifically you do is you provide dog daycare and boarding.
We do doggy daycare and boarding, and then we do spa services in the store as well.
Well, all right. And there are so many myths and preconceived notions that people have when they come looking at franchises. And one of them is, I'm sure, with Houndstown, they think the role of the owner is to play with the dogs all day.
They do. So, that is often one of the first things that we speak about. Yes.
All right. So set the record straight for us, Rob. What is the role of the owner and what is he or she doing with their time?
So when we speak with anybody who is interested at Houndstown, we are very transparent about this question. What is ultimately your role? And so I'll go high level and then kind of bring it down very, very quickly. So high level, we speak to franchisees about a journey to freedom. They have a dream to be free from corporate America, free to leave a legacy, free to make money for themselves, all these amazing things. But what the myth is, often they will get onto that journey and it's like, I have to be in my store working 5 days a week, working every shift. And that's certainly part of it in the beginning, but we really work with our franchisees to be what we call is to be the CEO of your business.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really focusing on their leadership skills. How are they out in their market? The same way that I'm looking towards the future, they're looking towards the future for their business. We don't want them to be abandoning the business and not looking at it, but not necessarily working in the store. We want them to develop a team so they can focus on bigger, better things.
They're engaged with their business and they have an eye, they're the leader of the organization and they have their eye towards growth.
Exactly. So we give specific examples. Every dog that comes into one of our places goes through what's called a temp test. I tell owners, you need to learn how to do those temp tests as well as anybody else in your business. But when the customer is coming in, this is the first time that this customer's come in. You're there to shake hands and kiss babies, tell your story, what makes a brand different, be the owner of that business. Hey, if you're doing the temp test, no problem. But you want other people knowing how to do the temp test so that you can focus on building a relationship with the customer. You're not having to run to the back of the house to go grab something or do something along those lines. You want to focus on your end customer.
One of the things that I absolutely love about Houndstown is if you can share a little bit about the founder and how he's applied his vision from the dog's perspective in building this brand. It just is fascinating.
Yeah, he's amazing. So we have two founders, Mike Gould and Jackie Bondanza. And Mike Gould was one of the founding members of the New York City Police Department. And he has this amazing brain. And he just really can see the world the way dogs see the world. And so what makes Houndstown different, and not as a knock on the competitors in any way, but most of them are really focused on how humans see dogs and think this is what a dog would need.
Right.
And what I brought to the table is here's how dogs see the world. And I'm going to build my business around how a dog would want it to be. So our design of our facility is done from 18 inches off the ground because that's how dogs see the world. We factor how shadows can play, how the lighting works, because dogs don't understand shadows the way we understand shadows. Our playrooms don't have 90-degree angles because there are no 90-degree angles in Mother Nature, and a dog can get cornered in a 90-degree angle, and that can create anxiety for a dog.
Wow.
So all these little things are all built about how the dog experiences the world. Then we train our franchisees to create packs that would replicate how a dog would naturally form a pack in the wild. So we have a minimum of 5 play areas. So we have a lot more flexibility in how we form those packs. We don't follow this algorithm. Oh, you're this age, you're this size. We train our franchisees and their team members on how to read the dog to understand what pack they should go in. And I use the example of my dog. It's a Brittany. She passed away, but she was a Brittany Spaniel, and she was 13. Older dog. If I brought her somewhere else, she got put into the old lady group. She's got a ton of energy, ton. Yeah. And so when I brought her to Houndstown, they're like, "Oh no, she goes into this other group." And she came home with our brand promise, which is your dog will go home with the Houndstown hangover. Your dog's been playing all day with other dogs. And that's really at a core what makes us different.
Well, that is hugely special. What immediately comes to mind, it's like how preschools are designed, from the perspective of a 3-year-old, not from the parent, but from the 3-year-old. And it just makes
use the exact same analogy. Yeah, very intuitive. Yes. Yeah. Everything is kind of created. How are they experiencing the world? And let's meet them there versus trying to force them to come into our world.
Rob, you had done a wonderful explanation about another myth, maybe, or misconception, or maybe it's just a misunderstanding, is the role that an owner has as the franchisee and the role that the franchisor has. Would you mind addressing that and talk about how you put it very wonderfully? Was it a mismanaged expectation or was it a broken promise? Something like
Yeah,
that.
the way we talk about that is we at Houndstown, it's part of our values. It's these franchisees are looking to achieve a dream. We have a sacred obligation to support them and something
Mm-hmm.
incredibly powerful. But the relationship between the franchisor and franchisee is also very nuanced. It's one of the more nuanced relationships on the planet, I believe. And so the way we talk about that with all of our franchisees is that there's mismanaged expectations and then there's a broken promise. And what often happens is a franchisor says, oh, that was just a mismanaged expectation. We said this, but you heard this.
Mm-hmm.
Franchisee feels like there was a broken promise. That's their perception. That's their reality. And now the franchisor and franchisee they're not on the same page.
Right.
We really lean into in our development process, leading up to approval day, being as crystal clear as possible on everything that the franchisor and the franchisee relationship and what that looks like before anything is ever signed, so that at worst it's a mismanaged expectation. Ideally,
Mm-hmm.
we're all on the same page on what this all takes. But that's one of the myths and maybe myth isn't the right word, but it's a preconceived notion when somebody comes into a franchise system.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I do as a franchise consultant is help
Very helpful.
educate people about
Yes,
franchising, the discovery process, which is really the franchise granting process.
correct. Yeah.
and and
Yeah, and so we're very clear we use a car analogy. The franchisor, here's the car, and our job on the franchisor side is to train you on how to drive that car as fast as you can or you're comfortable. How do you staff the car? How do you get the tires changed? When do you change the tires? How often you got to put gas in it? Making sure the car is relevant in the marketplace so that it's being upgraded with new technology and all these different things. And then the franchisee's responsibility is to drive it to what their ultimate end goal is. And
Mhm.
we all get off on some exit ramps, but we all want to get back on the main road as
Right.
quickly as possible. So
Don't want to get lost.
we don't want to get lost. We don't want to be going backwards. But it's just kind of understanding what those things are. The other one I see a lot of is a lot of franchisees, not a Houndstown thing, but they want to get out of corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. I really do. But there are aspects of being part of a franchise that are kind of like corporate America.
Yeah.
There are rules. There is a brand standards manual. My joke is there are forms for that. How do I have to fill out that form? Well, we have to document it just in case, and we got to keep track of this. And so it's really just kind of understanding the way I talk to franchisees is you are entrepreneurial in your business, but there's really only one true entrepreneur, and that's Mike Gold and Jackie. They created it from scratch.
Right.
We want your ideas and how we can all kind of work together, but we also have to look at the entire system. So just because you, an individual franchisee, want a new uniform, but all the other stores don't think that's a priority, well, it's not going to end up being a priority, and you have to just be okay using the existing uniform.
Right. Right. And going in what that is. So a lot of this is so transparent and upfront and obvious.
We just make it very transparent, and it's not heavy handed. We're just
all
having a
franchise disclosure document, all that sort of stuff.
it's hard to get through that legalese. And I tell a story. I'm married, but before I got married, my mom came to me. She's like, "Hey, let me just kind of tell you like what marriage looks like." And I was like, "What do you know? You've only been married 30 years." Foolish. She was right. Marriage has its challenges, and you're not always on the same page.
Right.
And so we're just trying to engage in that type of conversation. Say, hey, here's what I can't predict what's going to happen, but I can predict how we're going to work together. So let's talk through what that looks like, so that when either the economy goes down or you're having an individual challenge or whatever it is, here is how we will handle that.
Yeah, and you can work together and work it out. Well, Rob, thank you so much for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rob Flanagan, the CEO of Houndstown. Thank you so much. You just shared so much. And I know my audience has learned a great deal about not just the pet care industry, but Houndstown. So thank you, Rob.
Absolutely. Well, and for your audience, I have to say, just having done this for 20 years, working with somebody like Anna is so important. I can't tell you how many times I have seen a prospect just inadvertently kind of get into franchising is great for them, but they just got put into a brand that's not the right fit. And the work that
Right.
you do in your 20 years of experience is so important for somebody. So I encourage folks also reach out to you. And so, because you really guide them to make really, really smart decisions.
Well, thank you. And audience, thank you for joining us, and come back next week. We're going to be talking about the absolute growing area, wellness. And franchising has jumped on that bandwagon in a big way. So come back next Wednesday at 11:30 to hear about it. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist. See you next week.